Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show we have Susan Chung. Susan, aka Lady Realtor, helping you understand the art of real estate. Over 70 million in sales in New York City. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dylan.
I like to start off at the top. How did you get into the real estate space?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'm in the business a little over 10 years now. And I started off working for my dad, who had a wholesale beverage distributor in Flatbush, Brooklyn. And I really, really loved my clients. I loved my customers and I took really good care of them. My sister at the time was also in real estate, and he said to me, "I think you'd be a good broker." And then I could not afford at the time to take off of work for the 2 weeks to sit for the course. So I ended up having to do it online, which I don't recommend at all.
Yeah.
And so it ended up taking me, they give you 6 months. I couldn't finish it in the 6 months because I was working like 6, 7 days a week sometimes and 10 plus hours a day. So I
Yeah.
literally only had this like 1 hour window at the end of the night or like a lunch break, to like read the questions and answer. So I ended up extending it from the 6 to 9 months. And then I finally got licensed. I think it was like 2014, 2015. My busiest season came around. It was Labor Day weekend. I'll never forget. I had pallets of beverages just posted up outside my store. And I remember having a conversation with my dad to say, I just want to know like what's going on with the business, what's the future of the business looking like?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make a lot of changes and he wouldn't allow me to. And then when he said, I don't know, and I was like, uh-oh, well, I've got to figure this out for myself. So I said to him, you know what, I'm going to take the week off. And I did. And the first day I took off, it was the first day I took off in about 6 years. And I went to the
No way.
beach for the first time. And I remember I was with my mom on the beach and I said, oh my God, I said, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. So
Labor Day weekend, gotcha.
Labor Day weekend, beach Labor Day weekend. And so I went to the broker I'd hung my license with earlier that year. It was like in March. And I literally the next day was like, hey, I want to come full time. And she was like, are you sure about that? Because like it's a
Yeah.
lot, like you're gonna need money. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm 100% like tell me what to do. And she did. And then that was it. It was game over. I fell the first month, I made the same amount doing rentals that I would make at my beer store getting paid from my family business.
Yeah.
Um, and I was young. I was very young. I was in my 20s. And so when I was able to supplement that part or the bulk of the income, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna do this full time. I think this is it. I think I got this.
So you're able to make a smooth transition. Now you were doing rentals. Was it property management? Was it apartment locating?
Um, so I remember my broker at the time telling me that if I wanted to get into sales, I would need to work with rentals first. I would need to work with landlords and tenants because when I understood what they wanted, then I could understand what a buyer and seller would want. So it
Yeah.
was literally the most basic level of residential rentals that you could ever imagine. It was like, go, this is going to sound really crazy and I'm going to age myself a little bit, but we used to have paper magazines, right? And like actual newspapers, and they used to be posted up in like the diners. I'm in New York. There's diners in Brooklyn all over. And so I remember my broker telling me, like, go across the street, pick up one of the newspapers. I wish I even had one here. I could show you and read the classifieds, right? And
Yeah.
call up those landlords and tell them that you are willing to rent this apartment. And it would be no charge to them, and you'll advertise for it. And I had this really adorable work camera that was left in the office, and I would literally run from rental to rental, just taking pictures, posting them. I had a boyfriend at the time who was like, "Do you even know what you're doing?" He would drive me to the appointments, and I
Yeah.
would say, "I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm just going to do it." And that was it. So it was like the most basic form of real estate that you could ever think of.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
That is a lot of hustle. That's awesome to hear this very humble beginnings. And
Oh,
so you were finding them
yeah.
tenants effectively. And were any of them reluctant to pay or was it very easy to collect your
No,
fee?
it was I never had an issue, knock on wood, wherever the wood is. I
Yeah.
never had an issue, thankfully, with commissions. Um, actually throughout my career. So I really have to, humble brag. I really do have wonderful clients. And if they feel like I'm not going to get paid on something, they don't mess with it, which is really wonderful. And it's just like, I love my clients to death. They are extremely loyal, but I never had an issue. No, because you know what? I would, at the time, and now there's a bunch of laws that are changing now, but at
Yeah.
the time you worked for the landlord, but the tenant would pay you. And so you'd work
Mm,
for this landlord and you'd say, I'm going to advertise this for free. Like, this is no problem. You don't have to worry about it. And then the tenant would come in, and they want the apartment. So they're like, well, this is what you got to pay. And that was it. There was no
that
issues.
was it.
Yeah.
And so from there, I'm picturing you're scaling with that. You're realizing you have this niche carved out. You're in Brooklyn, so you're still close to home, right? And so you're seeing, well, what's the next step from here? And at that point, was it an immediate, okay, well, I'm just going to transition completely to more or less this will be here, but I'm going to transition to listing homes and making offers for clients. How did that transition go about?
It took me about a year and a half to actually get my feet wet into sales. Um, I would say I was a little bit of a sheltered individual. So I really did not understand how things worked. And so a lot of it was a big learning curve for me. I was petrified to talk to a seller. Which I mean, I would have colleagues that were like would just jump in and be like, "Oh, they think they know what they're doing, and I have no idea what I'm doing, and this person is probably going to know more than I do. How can I talk to this person?" So what I did was to make the transition from rentals into sales. Um, Now I know that this is not something that I advocate for now, but at the time, it did assist me in working. Zillow, they used to sell lead. They still do. They do it now, and it like
Yeah.
drives me crazy because people are so dishonest now. But back then, you could buy zip codes and then you get leads to those zip codes. So, I gave them the credit card. At the time, it was like back in Flatbush, and it was like $40 a month. Like, it was no money. I mean, not no money, but it was like nothing, right? And
Yeah.
so I remember I got this one client. I had toured a house a couple of days earlier, and I got this one client, And then when I bumped into this guy, he says to me, "Oh, I was in contract. Or almost in contract. I was doing the inspection on this home, and the inspection came out so terrible." And I said, "You like that home?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "I got a better one for you." And I showed him the one literally right next door that I knew was a great, solid home.
Yeah.
And he was my very first sale, my very first buyer client, and I actually got it from Zillow, which and now I don't do Zillow leads now. And not that I have an issue with them. I think there's a time and a place in everybody's career where they need them. But
Yeah.
and I was always very honest. Like I would let people know, like, "Hey, I'm not the listing agent. Like if you want
But if you could have gotten the Zillow lead for $40 at the
for
time,
40
that was the
bucks."
time to
Yeah.
get in. Come on
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. And so this is like my really early on. Not only did I have that guy, but because I did such a good job at keeping in touch with my clients, he came back to me 5 or 6 years later, sold with me, referred me his neighbor who sold with me, referred me his across the street neighbor who sold with me, referred me another gentleman who worked with him who sold with me. And then the neighbor referred me her cousin who sold with me. That was 6 transactions all in the same year from this one $40 lead. So I took that and I did transition into sales from that one gentleman. And then from there, you start getting acclimated on how the process works with buyers. You start understanding transaction timelines. And up until I got to Compass, which is the company I'm with now, 2017, 2018, I still could not talk to sellers. It was like I would be like profusely sweating. Like I was just like, there was
I'm
no
having such a hard time imagining this because the person I see before me is so gregarious, so full of life. I can
Thank
feel the
you.
vibe through the screen. But what did your, I'm assuming just like me and many other people, you realize over time that if you want to be successful in real estate, you have to be like fanatically networking, and that like being kind of in your shell a bit is hindering you. For me, it did. I was analysis paralysis Dylan. I was like, I don't know how to get into real estate. I'm not, that's not me. But then I realized people are actually very willing to kind of share the secrets of the game as if you're in the room with them. So then I just started going to these meetups.
Right.
And now I'm just like, I'll talk to anybody. Like, who is it?
That's
I'll
right.
talk to them.
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
So smart. So I actually come from a really big family of realtors. My aunt was very successful years ago, before she retired. And one thing that she did teach me was every single person needs to know that you're an agent. And it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be flashy in your face, like, "Oh, pick me, I'm your agent. I'm who do you know that wants to buy or sell?" No, it can be more subtle, right? So for example, I would go out for dinner and let's say the waitress or somebody says to me, "Oh, I live in blah, blah, blah town." I'd be like, "Oh, I have clients there." And it transitions into, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm a realtor." So so it wasn't very much like, who do you know that wants to buy or sell? It was more so like, how do I slip this into conversations? I think when it comes to being a broker, you really have to understand mirroring. So a lot of real estate,
Yeah.
a lot of getting clients, keeping clients, building your business is about it's psychology. A lot of it's psychology. And it's like understanding people's personality types, understanding that there are different types of personalities, and that you may have to speed up or slow down for certain people. You may have to be a little bit more impulsive or a little bit more withdrawn. You may have to be a little bit more in your face or a little bit more to your personal space. So
Have
there's
you taken the disc class?
so I didn't take the disc class, but I
Okay.
did take the ninja installation, which I highly recommend to any newbie. They
I haven't heard about
are
that.
phenomenal. It's worth every single penny. I'm 100% referrals, and it is solely because of this installation. And they do a very good example. They do a very good job of explaining how the disc profiles work. Um, but they use it they like instead of the dominant, they'll call it like power impulse, like the I impulsive, they'll call party people. So they have like a different terminology for it, but it really does a great job at explaining how to mirror people so that people can understand that you're a trustworthy person, basically, and that
Is
you're
this a New York thing or is this all across the country and
it's
it's
cross
digital?
country. It's cross country. They're
O-
actually based out of Colorado.
Okay, I got to look into it for myself, selfishly.
100%. I
But so
highly
you
recommend.
go and you have you're expanding within the real estate space. You're gaining clients. You're understanding mirroring. You're understanding how to insert uh, what you do into a conversation in a way that's not abrasive, right? And so over time, you're gaining these referrals. You talked about six from the same point of contact in 1 year. Was there an aha year or an aha moment where things just took off exponentially for you, or was it more of a slow
Yeah.
build?
Yes. Yes. So it does feel like a slow crawl until it pops. So 2020, which I know was a really rough year for everybody. New York City had a mass exodus, so we had a tremendous amount of people who put their homes up for sale. I had already a tremendous amount of buyer. I do a lot of volume. Um, and so I had a lot of buyer clients who had bought with me a few years before and now wanted to sell, upgrade, downgrade, leave the city, whatever it was. So that was my first year that things started to take off. And then 2023 was actually my strongest year,
Hmm.
um, which is really interesting also because
Yeah,
that's when changes in the market started to sort of
come down.
shift, right? Like interest rates started to shift. There was a lot of uncertainty in the market. But because I had put systems in place that allowed me to defy market conditions, I remained successful, thankfully, throughout 2023.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
So as a realtor and then scaling, and if I heard you correctly, you're a broker in New York as well.
Yes.
So as a realtor scaling, becoming a broker, what strategies did you use to scale your business and to really keep track of all the loose ends? Because that's hard for a lot of people, and it can be stressful and anxiety inducing to work with a handful of sellers, but then you do this at scale and talk about
Yeah.
volume. That can be a difficult undertaking for a lot of people. So was that something that you had to learn and kind of prototype out, or how did you learn to deal with this at scale?
Yeah, so I would say I'm still learning actually. I average around 40 transactions a year, which is a pretty good amount. And
Yeah,
I'm on my own. I'm on a team, but I'm pretty much by myself. I have hired a marketing rep who's been with me since I think 2019. I love him to death. Um, and I have recently hired an admin. And I think the biggest thing you can do is get yourself an admin or somebody. This is actually my recommendation.
yeah.
Hire a newly licensed agent who is really hungry in the business, wants to learn, but can also handle admin tasks in the beginning. For example, they can send out the deal sheets, they can send out the leases, they can send out the listing agreements. There's things that they can do. They can respond to emails, they can set up tours. There's things that they can do that number one teaches them how to do their business, but also allows you to leverage their skills behind the scenes, right? So like anything on the computer, like I'm very good. Actually, you know what? Let me just say this, know where your strengths are, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where it lies first. Because if you're better behind the computer, maybe you hire somebody that goes out and sits with your clients. I don't know. But for me, I'm better face to face, knee to knee, sitting at the table together, talking about the property. So behind the scenes, what would take me like a whole day to do, my admin can do probably in an hour to 2 hours max, right? Um,
Teamwork.
yeah, yeah. So I do keep very good track. I do have a business tracker to keep track of my current listings, anything that's in contract. anything that's coming soon, and then buyers, rentals, etc. But I would say that I'm still trying to master this.
Yeah.
And it takes time because if you're like, I'm a control freak a bit. So, like, sometimes, especially when you're teaching people how to do things, if you can do it faster, sometimes you're just like, I'll just do it quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus like actually putting the leverage, like leveraging it out and actually giving it to somebody else to learn to do. And the benefit there is you hired somebody, you can make a little bit of a cut off their commissions. They can assist you in open houses
Yep.
and talking to clients, because they're licensed, but they can also handle the admin work. So I recently hired a young lady who is phenomenal. And she's part-time, but she's learning. I'm teaching her. She's also helping me with this stuff. So it's a win-win.
Win-win.
It's a win-win all around.
I'm sure she's thrilled to be working with you and getting all this experience from your years of experience, and then also being able to really dip your feet in the water without just diving headfirst in. And as you know, there's a lot of situations where people are newly licensed, and you'll kind of get lost in the woods if you don't have that direction. So
Yeah.
because you need the assistance and because she's newly licensed, that's like the ideal situation. Like she's going to get involved in the contracts. She's going to have to, understand the discussions, the communications, and it offloads a lot of the overhead that you were having to wade through on your own. So to me, that's a win-win. But I wanted to pivot a bit here, Susan, and ask you, is there a niche or an avatar of seller or buyer that you like to work with as far as the type of homes that they're looking at, or is it you see all different types of clients and different price points for homes?
Yeah. So when I first started my business, I loved the first timers. I loved the first time buyers. I loved the first time sellers. But it was more so like kind of going back to when I said to you, I was so nervous to talk to people because I didn't think I had the experience. I didn't know. Now
Yeah.
that I'm a little bit more seasoned, not that I am against any business at all. But it is a little bit, it is nice to have somebody that kind of knows what they're doing, what they want to spend, or what they'll take on a property, let's just say.
Yeah.
And we can just, it's cut and dry. It's very like to the point, da, 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 this, and that, and then that's it. While I still love my newbies and I love to take them through the process, it's a lot of fun for me to do that. I would say that, you know, if you're working with million and above clients, they kind of have a little bit more of an understanding, million and a half and above, of the industry. They're still not professionals, right? So everybody needs
Yeah.
some hand holding. And in New York, $1 million buys you nothing. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say to
believe
our
it or not,
Texas
that's the
listeners
first time there.
who are out here thinking like $1 million in DFW, like that's
Yeah,
and I grew up in New Jersey. I know what it looks like, so it's a different deal out there.
yeah, it's still very much a first. It still could be very much a first timer. But I would say like it's not that it's easier, but you can kind of scale a little bit better the higher price points you go. I think
Yeah.
when it comes to being a new agent, one thing I would definitely recommend is really understand where you want to be working, and start there. Don't start in the neighborhood you live in and then think that you're going to, grow your business here and then you're going to rebranch to some other neighborhood. It's a lot harder to rebrand yourself in a different neighborhood, or not impossible, but farm a new neighborhood when you've already got, a one very established. So pick your neighborhood, pick your niche, start there, and then and grow there.
At this point in your journey, I mean, it really sounds like you have a tremendous network and so much referral, so much repeat. I'm imagining that because now you're this far in, a lot of this is coming back full circle and you're getting people who you helped them buy the house are now listing it with you and their family and so on and so forth. Is this a bulk of the people that you see coming to you are repeats and referrals at this point, or is it a fair mix?
I'm 100% referrals actually. I mean, I get like the random one or two Google people who are like, I found you on Google, or I found you on Instagram, or
Yeah,
whatever. But my business is 100% referrals. I actually get a ton of broker referrals as well.
interesting.
Because yeah, so certain parts of New York City, other agents maybe don't want to travel to because it's a little bit further. Also, there
Yeah,
are certain markets like New York is very different, vastly different from other areas. And every market can be a little bit different, right? And so if you really don't know, like where I live, for example, you can have it can be different block to block, right? If you have a listing
Yeah.
here, you think it's going to sell for here because that's what the comps say, but meanwhile, it's on a really busy road, it's not near the subway, it's whatever. Like there's just
Yeah.
random stuff that can really affect the market value that as an outside broker you just wouldn't know. So I do get a lot of broker referrals as well, but I am 100% referral at this point in my business.
Congratulations on that. That's tremendous. I think about my business, which is not yet, it's not listing homes, but I'm making offers on homes. I'm working with investors. And I'm thinking about, like, man, imagine if I just had every investor coming to me being like, hey, Dylan, make
Yeah.
this offer on this house.
Yeah.
And that's where you've gotten to. Like, people are just, it's all 100% referral based. Do you have any general guidance for agents who aren't necessarily brand new, but they're still having to do a lot of prospecting, on things that you picked up from your journey that you can point back to and say, you know what, that's what I did that really helped me get this volume of referrals?
Yeah. So I mentioned that ninja installation course, and I'm going to mention it again
Yeah.
because it really breaks down all of this um, for you. So you guys are going to laugh, but handwritten note cards for me went so far. Um, So what I did in my business was I appealed to the emotional side of my clients. I do residential sales, right? Things might be a little bit different with investors, commercial, etc. But with my residential clients, it is a very big deal for them to buy and sell property. It is the biggest ticket item they're going to purchase or sell. So what we did was I would keep in touch with them on a daily basis. I know I took it down, but you saw I had a business tracker here right behind me. I just removed it.
Yeah.
But every day when I was building my business, I would go through every single one of my clients and I would call them, let them know where they're at in their transaction. Following up was huge. And then when it would close, I would send them a handwritten note card saying thank you for allowing me to work with you, and then I would stay in touch with them all the time. So, like a month after the transaction, I'd call them and I'd say, let's go get dinner. Let's go get lunch. Let's do this. Let's do that. Um, the ninja will teach you forward questions, which is like family, occupation, recreation, dreams. So, touching base on, hey, how's the family? Hey, how's job? How's the job? How was your vacation? What are you guys planning on doing this summer? Calling your clients on a regular basis. Now, obviously, when you start getting more and more clients and then you have a ton of transactions that you're working on, it's a lot more difficult to make those phone calls, what we call forward calls, right? But it's really, really important to touch base with them like as much as you can, if it's, quarterly or once a year or just checking in. And the reason I say that is because what it does is it activates a part of their brain that they will consider you to be important, right? So,
Hmm.
for example, have you ever got a new car, a red car? Let's just say you got a red Jetta, and now you see a red Jetta everywhere. Oh my God, this person has a red
Everywhere.
Jetta, that person has or if you're pregnant, all of a sudden you see a million pregnant women because your brain has
Yeah.
now activated that as important. It's registered it as important. So, what you want to do is you want to be the important realtor in your clients' lives so that when they go to work and somebody says real estate, they're like, oh my God, you have to call my broker, Susan. She is the best. Right. If they go to the
Hmm.
ball game and the kids are, swinging the bat and the neighbor is talking to them about, oh, we think we might want to sell or we have to move to another neighborhood or, Scotty got a better job and we've got it, whatever the situation is. Oh my gosh, you have to call our broker. She's the best. And
I
so you
love that.
really want to, yeah. So you just want to touch them like all the time. Like you want to just, that sounds funny, but you want to like touch base with them on a regular and consistent basis, even if it's
Yeah.
just to check in. I never call my clients and are like, hey, are you guys ready to call? Are you ready to sell? It's always like, "Hey,
Yeah.
what's going on? I was thinking about you, drove past your apartment or drove past your property. Remember that time we did such and such, whatever. Any kind of conversation just to say you were on my mind and it connects them to that part of you where now anytime somebody talks real estate, they know real estate equals Susan Chung.
I love that. That's tremendous. You have like advertising space in their mind indefinitely
Yeah.
every time that they think about real estate. They're like, real estate, Susan, that's
100%.
phenomenal. So
100%.
I'm gonna look into that for myself. Selfishly, I have to go look into this course. I hadn't previously heard about it. But
With that.
Susan, we are coming up on time here. Where can folks go to get a hold of you?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Lady Realtor, Lady_Realtor, which I'll let you guys know more. Or you can anyway, call me, text me, email me. I'm always available. My number is literally everywhere on the internet. But definitely Instagram is the easiest place if you want to see what I've got going on.
Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for your time and for providing our listeners some great value here today.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.